Welcome to Theology 101, Church Ecclesiology. And ecclesiology is simply the academic term for the study of the church. And this is part 6 of 6 of our Theology 101 series. And I'm thrilled that we finally made it to the end. We've had some amazing topics like salvation and so forth. And this is a very important one. So let's go ahead and jump into this training right away. The first thing we'd like to do right out of the gate is cover some important resources. Now, I'm not going to cover every one of these, but I do want to highlight some of them because we did cover many of these resources in the previous webinars. But there are several that are important, and I'm going to open those up and show you what they look like. The first one is Systematic Theology by Lewis Sperry Chafer. This is part of a collection, so let me go ahead and open up the Logos website, and I'll bring that in. It's an 8-volume set, and it's a wonderful, in-depth, conservative, dispensational, in many cases, systematic theology. Just enormous amount of information. And whether you agree or disagree with these topics and their perspectives, the fact that they thoroughly explain their positions is very helpful in studying. And so that's one reason why I do it. Let me go ahead and open up to the church section. And so you can see here's volume 4, page 1 on ecclesiology. And so we have the church as an organism, the believer's rule. And so if you go all the way to the end, it's page 249. So over 200, almost 250 pages of content on the church. That's a lot of information to read through. And for the larger systematic theologies, that's pretty standard. Another excellent one, a must-have, is Norm Geisler's Systematic Theology. Let me go ahead and open up that one. This one is just phenomenal. The reason I like Norm Geisler is because, one, it's a very easy to read layout. Very simple headings, short paragraphs, plenty of cross-references, but then he will look at other interpretations as well. So when you get down to topics, for example, how is the Catholic Church different than, let's say, the Protestant Church? He's going to address those. He deals with objections. So, for example, where do we believe the church began? Did it begin at Pentecost or sometime after? Depending on who you speak to, will determine their view. And as you can see here, he'll talk about covenants perspective, ultra-dispensationalists, etc. So very, very thorough, an absolute must-have if you're going to study systematic theology. Now, I won't go too much further with this list, but as you can see, it's pretty extensive. If you're coming from the Catholic perspective, I did want to put in here this one, that's Systematic Theology, Roman Catholic Perspectives. And the reason I put it in here is you need to know the differences. There are significant differences between the Protestant and Catholics. And if you're going to study ecclesiology, you have to know the difference. It is significant. Now, Ludwig Ott is a Catholic, and so Fundamentals of the Catholic Dogma is not currently available. It's in a pre-publication right now with a larger collection that's coming out. So if you want to get it straight from the Catholic Church, that would be that particular book. Some other special collections that have theology are listed here. Let's move to the next section because we've talked a lot about systematic theologies, but here are some additional books that I think are going to be very helpful in studying ecclesiology or the church. This first one is Mapping Modern Theology. Let me open this up so you can kind of see what's going on. So here it begins on the background and context. And as you can see, he's walking you through from the Reformation through the 19th century, showing you the Roman Catholic perspective, the Eastern Orthodox, the Protestant. This is significant because you can begin to see what they have in common and how they differ and why. And that's going to be very important in this topic. Another one is, of course, John Calvin's Institute of Christian Religion. And a real simple, accessible resource is R.C. Sproul, What is the Church? And this is going to go through, really short. It's only 60 pages, but the high-level issues related to the church, to ecclesiology. The church is one, it's united in truth, visible versus invisible, and we'll talk about that more in detail. It's founded by the apostles, servants, and marks of a true church. Again, very helpful, touching a little bit on history, theology. Think of it as a great primer into this particular topic. The next category is going to be comparison of Protestant and Catholic views of the church. So we have Lorraine Bettner, Roman Catholicism. He's going to deal with this topic, as well as Norm Geisler and Ralph McKenzie, Roman Catholics and Evangelicals, Agreements and Differences. So if you are looking for some specifics where these comparisons are and looking for books to just kind of focus on that, these two resources will do that. The next section, letter D, is theological dictionaries and encyclopedias. Now, I've just pointed out two of them, the Encyclopedia of Christianity. Let me open that one up. This one is substantial. It's a large volume set and it has multiple topics, but you can see here it really breaks down the church in a wonderful way. We have the subjects, tasks, and problems of ecclesiology. Then we have the historical aspects, the term, the church, the primitive community, Paul, the later writings. And then it works you through how the church developed through the early church, apostolic, patristic, the Augustine, Middle Ages, the Reformation, and the modern period. Then it deals with the theological aspects. So once again, we see these major divisions within Christianity: the Orthodox, the Roman Catholic, the Anglican, Lutheran, Reformed, Free Church, etc. It's not completely going to cover every single church denomination, but it is going to cover the major ones. And then it does throw in the sociological aspects and the church in transition. So very, very helpful. And as you can see, there's links to other topics. And again, this is a great way to get an overview of the full category. Now, the next one, New Dictionary of Biblical Theology, is another example of a dictionary. It's going to be a little bit briefer than the encyclopedia, but nevertheless, a wonderful way to get some quick definitions. So here's the church introduction. Talks about the church in the Old Testament, and we'll cover that topic, but just to give you a little bit of sneak preview, if you look at the Greek word for church, which is ekklesia, and we'll do this actually in Logos, and you look at the Septuagint, you'll discover it's the same Greek word. And in the Old Testament, it described the assembly of believers in synagogues or the gathering of Israel to worship God. In other words, it's really the gathering of believers. And in the most general sense, there's the relationship between the Old Testament and a New Testament with the word ekklesia, the assembling of believers to worship. But there is a distinction between the Old Testament believers and the New Testament believers. And we'll get into a little bit of that. So here we have the church in the Old Testament, the people of God, the priesthood, etc. And then it moves into the significance of Jesus Christ and how that changes it. And then we look at the church in the Gospels, in each of them, Paul's writings, the meaning of ecclesia, and so forth. So very, very important resource to consult as you begin to familiarize yourself with this particular topic. As you can see here, it's all done now. It's only a handful of pages with some good bibliography for further reading. So be aware that the dictionaries can be helpful. Also, as I mentioned last time we met, Logos Now, which is an additional feature for $8.99 a month, has the systematic theology cross-references data set. So I'm going to open up to Ephesians 5:32 in the passage guide. And this is where the systematic theology feature shows up. So if you don't have Logos Now, you won't see systematic theology. But if you do have Logos Now and you type in Ephesians 5:32 in the reference box and you search, you'll see this list of various systematic theologies. Now over to the right, I'm under subject, and so I'm seeing each of the systematic theology categories, and there is our ecclesiology. And if I click on it, you'll see that I have the denominational breakdown of the various theologies that I have in my library. Now, this list may be different than yours based on the books in your library, but what's helpful about this particular tool is that here I have the resources that are Baptist related. And if I scroll down, I can look at the Congregational, the Lutheran, the Methodist and Wesleyan, non-denominational, others, Presbyterian, Reformed, etc. And again, I get the topic with the cross-reference, and I can read from these specific theology books knowing their perspective. That is so helpful when you're studying a massive topic like ecclesiology. So I think you'll find that quite helpful. Okay. The next section is creating collections. Now, what I'd like you to do is go over to Faith Life, and we're going to go to the LearnLogos.com presentation activities. So let me go ahead and open up this Faith Life. And I'm going to post a couple rules for you just to make life a little bit easier. So what you want to do is just go to faithlife.com, and if you type in LearnLogos.com, you'll see LearnLogos.com presentation. You want to click on that link, and that'll take you to the actual page. And if you haven't joined it, you can go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post couple of these rules. So let me take the web page off, and we'll put it back over here. And this first collection is just the systematic collection name. So let me go to Tools, Collections. And here's the simple rule. It's pretty straightforward. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that for you. And I'm going to post that. In fact, let me put a space between it. So now if you go over to LearnLogos.com presentations, let me bring back the web page now. You can simply copy and paste this collection name and collection rule. And let me go back now to Logos. And basically what you want to do is go to Tools, Collections, and paste the collection name in here and paste the collection rule in here. And based on the number of resources in your library, you'll get several books listed below. This will allow us to search only our systematic theology books. This way we won't be overwhelmed with so many hits and so many resources, and also it'll allow us to target sections in these books. And this will make it easier for us to study this topic. Systematic theology books are wonderful because they're concise, they're organized in an outline format, and they give you lots of cross-references. And they summarize a lot of the doctrine, making it easier for you to learn more about this topic. There is the General Theological Collection. So let me go ahead and paste that over there tonight. So I'm just going to put that right over there for you. So this would be number 6, General Theological Resources. This is to identify general theological resources. They won't be systematic, but they do talk about theology. So that rule is in there for you. So I'll add that one. And then there's the theology collection for the theological journals. Very helpful. Okay, let's begin by moving forward to our next tool that we're going to want to create in studying ecclesiology. Now, I'm going to move my book over to the left. Now, to do that, I'm going to close my previous book by clicking on the X on the tab here. And I'm just going to left click on the tab, and I'm going to begin to drag that to the right. For those of you who are new to Logos, you'll notice that when you left click on the tab, or where the book name is, as you left click and drag, Logos will shade an area. Whatever is shaded, if you release your mouse, that's where the book is going to go. Now I want this book to go to the right, so I keep dragging it to the right until I see the shaded area at the right. Now I can release my mouse and the book will fill up that shaded area, half my screen. Now I'm going to go over to the markup tool. So let's do that together. Let's go to Tools, and let's go to Highlighting. Tools, Highlighting. And what I want to create, we've been doing this for some time, is we have a theology palette. Now to create the theology palette, you click New Palette. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then you give it a name. In this case, you give it Theology. Now I've already created Theology, so I'm going to go ahead and delete mine. But that's how you create the palette. Now you can see in my palette, I have 13 of them. Now if you're looking to get these symbols, you can get them free at my website. So let me bring back the web page here. And the website we're going to go to is LearnLogos.com/free. So LearnLogos.com/free. And if you go to that web page, LearnLogos.com/free, and you scroll down, you'll see that you can download the highlighting symbols for free. And it's right here, 13 theological symbols. Click here to download. And that will get you the symbols. Now, once you've downloaded and extracted that, you'll just have images. What you have to do next is create the individual styles. So we call the whole group the palette. We call the individual elements styles. So what you do after you create the palette is you just simply float your mouse over the palette title, in this case, Theology. You'll see a little triangle appear at the right. You click that, and then you choose from the menu, Add a New Style. Now, as soon as you do New Style, this window appears. Now, I'm going to go ahead and back up and actually go to my highlighting. So I'm going to go to the church. I'm going to edit it. And so let's give it a name, 12 space dash space the church. So number 12, the church. Then I'm going to go down to image. Yours will be empty, and you want to click that square. And then a little menu will open up, and you want to choose a file. And then you want to navigate to wherever you downloaded those theological highlighting symbols. And then you want to locate the church. And here it is, Church PNG, and click Open. That places the image inside the box. Then over at the right, I would select the word Before if it's not already selected. And that's it. You've got the label at the top, you got the image, and you got the placement. Leave everything else the way it is, click Save, and now your palette has the church. Now, why did we do this? Well, I'm going to open up the New American Standard Bible. Now, one way to do that is just simply to put in a passage like Ephesians 4:32, and the menu will appear, press Enter, and our Bible will open to our default Bible and go right there. Now, I'm going to search for the word church by pressing Control F or Command F on the Mac, and that's going to open up this little window here. And I'm going to type in church, and here we go, Ephesians 3:21. Now, if we read the verse, to him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus to all generations forever and ever. We have church, and I've already highlighted it. So to do this, we simply select the text in our palette, so locate the church in our palette, and simply click it. And by clicking it, our word will be highlighted. Let me just do this with another word so you can kind of see this live. So I'm just going to select generations, click on church, and now our church symbol appears before the word generations. Now, if we wish to delete this, we simply select the text again and go up to the top and choose Erase. And that way, we can remove the symbol that we don't need. So this is a wonderful way for you, as you're reading, to mark up the text and give it the label the church. Now, I see a question here by Nathan. The Theology palette is also available on Faith Life for those who want to get it. Wonderful. Thank you for that extra tip, Nathan. The ability to tag this or to label it makes it easier so that when you're reading, your eyes are drawn to the symbol to give you attention, to remind you, oh, this is something very important. And that's a great use of the word church. If you're used to the inductive Bible study method, as you're reading through a passage, you can go now and mark all the references to the church, and they're all there. So when you use the palette, keep in mind that the palette is actually in your notes. And so you need to uncheck the whole section of notes or that specific palette in the notes. And that will allow you to turn it on and off as needed. Marking up is wonderful when you're in that stage of reading through the text and making observations. But once that's done, you may wish to turn it off because it'll be easier to read without it. John asked the question, can we make the symbol appear at all instances of the church? John, that's an excellent question, and we are going to show you how to do that. So hang tight. We're going to definitely do that. By the way, if you're looking for images to use, go to Bing.com, click Images at the top, and I recommend after you type in church, go to Safe Search and choose right away Strict. That way you won't get anything accidentally inappropriate. Very, very important. Also, I recommend choosing License to be public domain. And that way you're not breaking any copyright rules. And then you can choose from the images that you have listed there. And that's a wonderful way to surf the internet safely and get images for your palette that are pretty robust and wonderful to look at. So that's how we find a symbol, we add a palette, and we create it, and now we can mark it up. Now, the next thing we want to do is create some key documents. Now, the reason we want to create key documents is so that we can organize